It is while in transit that we are at our most vulnerable. While walking, driving, choosing a taxi, or using public transportation, we need to be at our most alert and prepared for the unexpected.
We are personally responsible for our own safety. We're not responsible for the safety of anyone else but our own. And that means that we need to be aware every minute of the day of what is happening and in what situation we are getting ourselves in. One of the key things is that we want to travel in vehicles that are safe, insured, driven by chauffeurs that are trained and professional. We also have a very strict guideline in ADRA UK not to travel at nighttime, especially in Asian and African countries.
The most dangerous thing you will do when you're on your trip overseas is to get into a vehicle. Some 2 million people are killed a year on the roads around the world, and many of these roads are extremely dangerous, and the vehicles on those roads are not maintained the way they should be. So road safety is one of the big concerns that you have to pay attention to. You want to make sure that the vehicle is sound. You want to use your seat belts. You might want to ride a bus. Again, be very careful. These drivers are putting in horrendously long hours, and especially a night trip on a bus is going to be dangerous because you know that they are very likely taking drugs to help them stay awake. So road safety is something that you need to be very concerned about and pay attention to. If you're going on a long trip by road, what are the condition of the tires? Is there a spare in the trunk that's blown up? When you're out and about is another period where you do have some risk. You've maybe been to a meeting and you've got a name tag and you're walking around the street advertising to everybody who you are and who you're affiliated with. The minute you come to the door, something like that should come off. You want to blend in. You don't want to be wearing your American baseball cap walking out on the street perhaps because it draws attention to you.
I tend not to wear a watch when I'm traveling, and definitely not a nice fancy watch. I try not to bring my iPhone. I always have a very tiny phone that I use for traveling that is not so fancy. I try not to have too much money with me. I try to dress down, not to have anything that will identify me as an ADRA employee or a foreigner. Even though I may look as a foreigner, I try to blend in as much as possible and try to stay safe. Walk the main streets. Don't go off the beaten track.
You also don't want to look lost. Thieves see that in a heartbeat. I find it very interesting to be downtown in Washington, D.C., and you'll see a young family with little children that are kind of knee-high or waist-high, and they've got the map out and they're looking all over the place, clearly lost. That is an extremely risky thing to do out on the street. I have been lost when I've been traveling, but I never look lost when I'm on the street. I walk on the street with determination, like I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm going. I may not, and when I don't, I will step into a shop or a store or an office to try and get my bearings and figure out what's going on, and then go back out on the street and walk with that determination and that confidence, because exerting confidence gives thieves a second thought. When you're walking on the street, walk into the traffic as far away from the edge of the street as possible, especially in places where kidnapping is common. Because if you're walking with the traffic, they can pull just in front of you, whip the door open, yank you into the car, slam the door, and the crime has taken place in 3 to 5 seconds. So if you walk into the traffic and as far away from the traffic as possible, you'll be much safer when you're walking the streets of a city.
I was in Ghana just recently, and I just took with a very tiny little camera a picture in a car of some street peddlers. And they saw me, they went straight for our car and they said, "You cannot take pictures." You have to be very careful what we do. Be very careful when you go and try to get money from a bank. You know, the minute you as a foreigner go to a bank, they know that you're there to get money out, and you have to be aware that when you leave the bank that everything is safely packed and that you are aware of the situation around you. Also, don't take pictures of stately homes or the military in a country, because it will get you into trouble. So yes, we have to be very aware of our surroundings when we travel.
When choosing a hotel, try to select a well-known hotel chain in a safe area.
One of my favorite experiences that I relate is that I stayed in an interesting hotel in Kenya, where I was given a key to my room. And very quickly it became apparent that every key was the same in the hotel. And that has taught me one lesson: to really make sure that my room is safe, that nobody can enter the room through any other way except through the front door, that the lock works properly. And also by preference I stay at the second or third floor rather than on the ground or first floor. It's very important that you look at that, and if you're not comfortable with the room you're staying in, or if you feel there's a security issue, go back to the reception and ask for a different room.
When you're checking in, you want to make sure that any of your personal information and stuff isn't being left around, that someone doesn't say, oh, welcome, and say your name, and you'll be staying in room so-and-so. You don't want to stay in those kinds of hotels, because anybody can be listening, standing just a few feet away, and know that you're in a certain room. So hotels can have their own risk, but in general, if you lock your door at all times, bolt it, if there's a chain or something else, put it over. You might even want to consider taking one of those little door wedges and jamming it under the door at night so that nobody could jimmy. We had someone here recently in 2 countries that she visited. Almost every night someone tried to break into her room, and she could hear it. And what a desperate feeling to be in your hotel room and to sense that someone is trying to jimmy a window or to get in through your door. You never want to leave valuables laying around. Even locking them in your suitcase is no safety at all. If you have something valuable that you need to leave, very often hotels, if they're of any caliber, will have some mechanism where you can leave them with the concierge, or you can leave them at the front desk, or maybe we'll have a lockbox in the hotel room or down, behind the front desk where you can lock up valuables if you need to leave them. If you should be carjacked or abducted or kidnapped, this is a very dangerous thing to happen, especially in those first minutes. Now, the abductor or the kidnapper is going to want to intimidate you. He's going to want to establish his authority. And I say he because almost all of them are male. And those first few minutes may be rough. So you want to comply as much as possible. There's one very important area we need to talk about. It's a painful area to talk about, and that is rape. So women carry a whole new risk when they find themselves in these kinds of situations. Now, if there's any feeling that rape is possible, you want to make yourself as undesirable as possible. You may want to vomit. You may want to fake your vomiting. Make yourself undesirable. I've even heard of people who will soil themselves as a way to make themselves undesirable.
I'm a scuba diver for a hobby, and one of the things that we are taught is to stop, breathe and think, and I've tried to maintain that throughout whatever would happen to me in situations. Just stop, continue breathing, and start thinking, how can I get out of this? In my experience, impulsive decisions are wrong, and although we may tend to react to a situation, it's better to just wait a little, observe, continue breathing, and then take a decision what you're going to do. It's not always easy,